Hey, everybody. All right. So welcome to the new teacher webinar. I'm Matt. I'm one of the teacher co-founders of Insert Learning. So the way this is going to work, this is going to be a live interactive webinar. So on the YouTube live chat panel, the discussion there, go ahead and add in comments. I'm also going to create a class that you guys can join so you can actually follow along with me as a student in this class if you want to. And so just go ahead and ask questions. What I've got planned is pretty short. And so we're going to have some time at the end of this 20-minute webinar to kind of go over any kind of questions that you have, and we can make specific lessons, things like that. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. And let's see here. All right, we're going to go with that one. Okay, so I'm going to be tracking everything on here. So I'll see your comments that show up over here. And yeah, have at it. So to start off with, what I'm going to do is, well, so everybody's already signed up for a lesson, and I'm just going to go ahead and start creating a new lesson from scratch. And I'm going to show you a couple of different examples. So you can just kind of see how it works. And right now, everybody should be able to see my screen just fine. Let me know if for some reason you can't. Right, okay, yeah, you can see it. So to start off with, what I'm going to do is I've already selected a Tween Tribune article. And so I'm going to show you how this just kind of works. So with Insert Learning, it's a browser extension that works on top of any web page. Tween Tribune is one that I really like. It's by Smithsonian, and it's kind of like Newsela or Newsela, where there's different lexile levels. Each one kind of acts as its own separate page. And we're from Minnesota. And so that's kind of why I chose this one of Minnesota's Disappearing River, which I've seen it before. It's pretty cool. And so the challenge really that you have is this gets to be a long chunk of text. When students see this, a lot of them are going to start to check out, or even if they read through it, are they getting the important things that we want? So I'm going to load in the Insert Learning Chrome extension. So we got an extension for Chrome and Firefox, and then you get the toolbar on the left-hand side. And so what I'm going to do is I always like to start off my lessons by just adding in some instructions up towards the top. So I click on the sticky note, and the sticky note and questions and discussions work the same way, of where they kind of go by blocks. And so wherever you see it kind of highlighting like yellow, that means you can now attach an element to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add one to our image up here because that highlighted yellow. And I'm just going to start typing instructions. And it's a little bit different, from site to site, and so you'll kind of get how it works. So I'm going to get instructions. I want them to answer all questions, read all of the text, and highlight in green the main idea of each paragraph, yellow for new vocabulary words. Minimum of, let's say, like 4. So they can be highlighting 4 vocabulary words, right? So we're kind of getting some very basic instructions. You can also record a video you can record a video and embed that anywhere within there. So I click on this little video icon right there. Oh, so I need to allow pop-ups for on here. So I'm gonna do that again, right? And you might not be able to see it with how I've got recording right now. So I'm just gonna record a video real quick. And then I click use, and it pops up right there. So students can now watch that video. I've done this of where I'll read through individual paragraphs for students out loud, or have students actually then read paragraphs or read answers, and like say answers back to me within the sticky notes. So as we're going along, I also like to add in a pre-reading question. So over here on the toolbar, we've got the highlighter, the sticky note, which we've already used, the questions, and then our discussion tools that we can add in. So I'm going to start off by adding in this question one. And so it's just going to be a pre-reading. What do you think this article will cover based on the title? And then click create. What happens with the responses here is students will type their answers right there. And then as a teacher, you can see the responses show up in real time. So we've already kind of got to start here, and I want to make this thing as interactive as possible. So I'm actually going to now assign this out. So I'm going to click on the Insert Learning, and here, these are all my classes. I'm going to create a new class just simply for tonight's. So let's see. So for tonight, it is, what is the second? So I'm just going to do 8 to 18. If you use Google Classroom, you can import your roster from Google Classroom, but it's not really necessary. It's going to now create that class. And the way that I'm going to have you sign up for my class is by entering in this 4-digit code. And this is the same thing that your students would do. When your students sign up and they select their student, they're actually asked to enter in a class code. So you're going to enter in this code of JUIC, all lowercase, and I'll put that over in our chat box. As a teacher, what you do to sign up for a class is you go to your Insert Learning dashboard. And there's 2 different ways to do that. You can either open a new tab and click the Insert Learning extension, and this will take you to your teacher dashboard. This is where all of your lessons and your grades and all of your classes exist. And then click on Classes. And then here, instead of creating a class, you're going to enroll in a class. So you just click on Enroll and then enter in our class code, and then you're going to enroll in that class. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that over here in our chat. All right, so now going back to here. So we got our class. I'm now going to assign this. So there's my class right there already. I'm going to click on that and then click Assign. So now it's been assigned. There's another question though of like, right, so how do you get your students to the lesson that we're on right now? There's 2 different ways. Of one, your students have their own student dashboard as well. So if they go to the dashboard, they'll see all of the lessons that you've assigned to them show up in there, and they'll see the name of your class and everything on there, and they can click on it and go from there. Another option is if you use Google Classroom, you can assign these lessons directly to Google Classroom from here. And if you don't use Google Classroom, but use some other LMS or some other method of getting your students to your lessons, which is most people, you can just simply use this assignment link. And by clicking on that, what it'll do is it copies that link to your clipboard. I'm just going to give you a little preview here. Actually, no, I'll put that in our chat as well. And you can notice that what's different about this is that it's a unique URL. And so it's going to have this string is going to be your lesson. And what happens is that if your students aren't enrolled in a class, or if they don't have the extension installed, it's going to prompt them to do all of that. So I can even show you, let's see here. Well, I think you'll be able to see it. Yeah, when you click on that, then it'll prompt you to enroll in that class and install the extension. So using this assignment link is a really great way to then assign things out to your students because then they get it right away. All right, so I'm going to jump back over here. So now it's been assigned to our class. And what that means is that now, as people are going through, once you get here, you're going to be able to see everything that I've put on here. And your lessons update for students in real time, and you can see all the responses in real time as well. I should note that that happens only after you've reloaded the lesson the very first time. So I just created the lesson, so I'm just going to reload it this first time, and then everything that happens will sync up in real time. And if anybody highlights something on the article, I'll get a new little icon up here to see your annotations. But we're going to go through a little bit more here. All right, so down here now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start highlighting some things. So State Park and Minnesota's North Shore along Lake Superior. Now, one of the things I want to kind of highlight for here, and also I'm going to say Lake Superior, one of the Great Lakes. Okay. So now what I've done is I've added in a note, and students can now see that. They click on that, and then they see the note that I've added in there. You can change the color. We've got 3 different colors for highlights. So let's say like geologist, if that was one of our vocabulary words. Then I'm just going to select that one. I'm going to change that because we did, what's vocabulary words again? Is yellow is going to be vocabulary. All right. But you can change the color. So we've got green, yellow, and blue for your vocabulary words. But one of the things I do want to have is, right, I'm from Minnesota. Students, my kids are going to know Lake Superior, and they know where Minnesota is, but maybe they don't know where the state park is. So what I'm actually going to do is just simply copy that, and I want to add a map on here because I just want students to understand of like where this is. Just, you know, we've got some geography here. So I've copied that, and I'm just going to paste in Google search. We're going to head over to Maps. And this is now going to let us actually take this map that you see on Google Maps and embed it directly into that article. All right, and I'm going to zoom out because I want to get like the right, like I don't want to be too close, and I want to be able them to be able to kind of see like where it's located. Like I didn't even realize, I forgot there's that far north. All right, we're up by Canada now, folks. All right, so this is a good view that I want. So from here, I'm going to click on Share. and embed a map. And this is one of the really cool things also about insert learning is that almost anything with an embed code, you can put into your lessons to make them very interactive. We got about 60 different tools that you can add in, including Flipgrid, which I've got already queued up for it. So I'm going to copy this. So I just clicked on copy HTML. And heading back over here, I'm going to add in a sticky note, click on that paragraph, and I'm just going to paste in that embed code, and boom, there it is. So now students actually see where that state park is, and it's a fully interactive, like it's a real Google map. And so they can zoom in, they can scroll around, they can actually kind of explore that. So I'm going to follow this up with a question, right? Describe the location of this park relative to where you live. Okay. So now it's going to get students, now they have to go and they figure out, okay, like where is it that I live on the map? So with North Dakota, they have to now figure out a way of verbally, in writing, describing where the park is relative to where they live. So it's a neat, real kind of skill that we're kind of adding, and we're getting some geographical awareness as they're going through. The next thing I'm going to show you is just simply of how to add in a discussion. So discussions are different than the questions. So I'm just going to leave this one right. Let's see if did this. Why does or doesn't this surprise you? Now, the discussion, this is different because the responses are going to be visible to everybody within the class. With questions, only students in the class, only you and the student that wrote the answer can view the responses. No one else in the class can. But for discussion, then everybody in the class can see that. So you can type in, yes, because, and then they post it. And now everybody in the class can now see that response. If somebody ever writes something that they shouldn't, or you want to hide it, what you can do is you can click on this as a teacher, you can click on this little mute button, and that hides it for the students, but it makes it visible for you as a teacher still. If you need to, you can always bring that back, but everything has a timestamp on there. All right, so we're going through, we've got some different things. I'm going to add in a multiple choice question now also, which best describes where the river goes. Underground, above ground. Right. So the way that I just did that, I took a regular question, a free response question, and I turned it into a multiple choice question. Was you click on the question tool, the regular ones before, you put in your question, click create. And now as a teacher, if you click right here, type here, turn to multiple choice, you just click right there, start typing, hit enter, and now it's instantly multiple choice. And you can always go back to just simply having it be a free response. And I can also then delete it and change the number of points. So I've created the multiple choice, I select the correct response, and there we go. So we've got that. And now, right, so we already had our lesson actually is already assigned out to that class. You can assign it to multiple classes if you want to. The only other things that we haven't really shown here is different things like, right, so if you have Flipgrid and we want to have a current events, like a running current events topic, what I could do here is use this embed code. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to jump back over here. And then down at the end, let's say we want to have a class discussion with Flipgrid. So I'm just going to paste that embed code. And then there it is. Now this grid's locked, so we would need the code. So I'd kind of put the code up here, or the password, I'm not quite sure what it is. But now we can actually have a fully interactive Flipgrid discussion and students reacting to, say, like if we do a daily current events right there. So Tween Tribune is one of the great places. Other great places like MSN Kids, they've got a really neat combination of text as well as videos, and they're always from different sources. And one of the things I like, about the MSN Kids is that it also has the source of where it came from. So on here, even though there's not a lot of text, we've got the video. We can load in insert learning. We can load in insert learning. And then we can do the same thing of now, like, right, so from the above video, well, that didn't work out great. Put that down here, there we go. From the above video, like explain, blah, 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 or react. And you can add in as many different questions and discussions as you want to, and notes on there. All right, so I'm going to simply jump over, see if we get any questions right now. I don't see any in the live chat, but if you have any, let me know. So I'm going to just show off 2 examples of lessons that I've already done with students. So this is one that's also on Tween Tribune. And I've got my instructions, I've got a predict question, and then I've got like my multiple choices we're kind of going along. And so I'm going to show you this multiple choice one. So you can view the responses on the dashboard or on the lesson itself. So I'm click view all responses. And what's cool is that with the multiple choice, it collects what order they guessed incorrectly, or if they got an incorrect response. Now, this is great because, right, I can clearly see Ariana's thinking is much less. And then as it kind of went up, because I was trying to convert units, like help them understand how much like garbage they're talking about here, right? Joe got it right away. But then Garland here, like, he's all over the place, like this huge number, small number. So he's kind of just guessing at it as he's going along. And it also is going to auto grade the responses as they go along. So I've added in some different notes. And then here's our discussion right here. So as going through, we've got our discussion. And then for each of these, we've got all of our answers right there. Now, like I was saying, you can view the responses here, or you can view the responses in your teacher dashboard. So I'm going to go to grades. And the way this works is that some really amazing things you can do with this. But I'm going to go to my demo class with my responses. I'm going to now select my lesson. So that was the one we were just talking about. And what will happen is that this will show you all the responses right here. But you can then sort it by question. So if I want to see just the responses for this question, then I can see them right there. Or if I want to do more of a traditional one of seeing by individual students, I can then select the student, and now I can see what the responses were for each of those questions as they go along. And it also gives you the average score right there. So this is a really awesome thing. So if you've got 50 students going through a lesson, what this means is that all of those responses for one question get collected into one spot. So you have a great snapshot of what is everybody saying in response to that question, or you can switch it to the traditional by student and kind of go through it that way. You can export your grades as a CSV file or upload them to Google Classroom if you've got Classroom connected as well. And there's a lot of other things like in classes, you can invite co-teachers and you can view the number of students that you have in your classes and things like that. All right, so we've got that. I've got one more thing that I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to see though if we got any questions right here, because we're kind of getting towards the end here. How would you include vocabulary in your lesson, and which apps work with insert learning? All right, since we're just on the dashboard, I'm going to show you that again. Under resources, we've got tools to embed. So we've got find content, examples, and our help center. But if you go to tools to embed, these are all different tools that work with insert learning, but really almost anything with an embed code, that like iframe or embed code, will work with it. Edpuzzle is one of our favorite ones to use with insert learning. You can make like interactive videos with questions embedded within it. So I'll do that. Desmos is like interactive math. We got a couple of different ones in here, but you can also embed like Google Slides in there. So if you've got a presentation you've used with students, you can embed that Google slide into the actual reading, as well as with Google Drawings and a variety of different things that are really kind of neat, and Google Forms. So if you've got quizzes, you can then embed your own quiz at the end of the lesson if you wanted to have kind of like a quiz that way and collect responses that way. You can do that all right there instead of making them click and go to other places. Now, the vocabulary question, right? So a couple of different ways you could do this. If you wanted to give the vocabulary to students, like so you wanted to define different words, like I see of like basaltic lava, I could highlight that with my highlighter. So I've selected the highlighter tool, and then I highlight the text right there. And now from here, if I click on it again, I can now click on this plus, and that brings up this comment box. And this is where you can now add in the definition that you want for your students. So it's a type of rock. I'm just going to write it like that on there. And then we've got that. So that'd be one way that you can do the definitions. You can also ask students to do the same thing. So if they're going through, and so my instructions here, I ask them to go through and highlight different words that they're not familiar with. And then those are gonna be the vocabulary words. We could follow this up with a question now at the end of like right now, so write your 5 new vocabulary words. And research 1 and provide an example here. Now, seeing those responses, like their highlights that they've done, I've got my other example here. Now, this is one of where I've used insert learning on top of a Google Doc. That's because it was a site that I didn't want students to see other articles that were on there. It was one of those kind of like clickbaity websites where it's an awesome article, but I didn't want them to see the other stuff that was on there. So for this one, I used another tool to make a screen recording of the actual lesson after I'd made it and just kind of giving them instructions. And I gave them written instructions here. But instead, I wanted them, instead of asking a question, I wanted them to highlight what is the animal's adaptation and the benefit for each animal as they're going through. And you can do the same type of thing with vocabulary words. You can say, highlight the vocabulary words and guess at the definition based on the context of the clues in there. So to view that, once students have started to annotate things, you get this new icon up here, and then you just select the student. So if I click on Bernice, I can now see where Bernice is highlighted. I can go through, and each student, I can now see what they're highlighting. And this actually shows up in real time. So it's kind of a neat way of, if you're doing a blended model and students are going through, you don't have to hover over their shoulder. You can just kind of look at your screen and then be like, okay, I want to go check in on this student because they haven't highlighted anything yet. And I want to make sure that they understand what to do. And I have a kind of like a general idea of like what I'm going to do. Now, in this case, this student has already added in a note. So I can click on that and then see, right, so they've got a great question there. And these are things that you can kind of branch off of. And so this would be of where, if you wanted them to highlight things, you can now look at what they've highlighted for the vocabulary words and put those in there. All right, so we are kind of like down to the last, like we're down to the end of our minutes here for tonight's webinar. I am going to show you guys one other thing, and that is over in your teacher dashboard, the public library. And this has really been going crazy. The public library is where teachers can just simply share and publish their own lessons that they've created. And so you can go through, the way it works is that, let's say if I wanted to see this one that Zachary made, I just click on that. It opens it up in a new tab. And it's going to load the insert learning extension on top of it. So it's kind of like give some time. And this now lets you go through and you can preview what that lesson looks like. And if you like it, you can now copy that lesson. Just want to show you. And it also shows you kind of the lesson history. So if you made a copy, then your name shows up on there and you can publish it back out. So you could have multiple revisions or remixes of the same lesson. It kind of keeps that revision history on there. So that's kind of a nice thing. So you can copy it, and then that becomes your own version of the lesson. Now, if you want to publish your own lessons to it, under more options, you can then click on share with teachers and also edit lesson info. I like to edit lesson info because from here you can then put, okay, this is going to be a science lesson, and this is going to be good for our middle school grades, and you can put in tags. But then if you click on list in public library, it will now automatically publish that out to the library so other teachers can see that lesson that you've created. Now, if you delete your lesson, it will disappear from the public library. This is a really great way to be able to publish your lessons. And if you do want to share with other teachers without making it public to everyone through the library, you can click on share with teachers and then just copy that link and then share that with and just give that link to teachers. Same thing, they can preview it and then copy the lesson if they want to use that. And a thing that I didn't cover at all is our help center. You can get to this from the dashboard or from the toolbar. And clicking on this just brings up our whole help center here. And we got a lot of great stuff. A lot of things are on our YouTube channel as well. But like we've got our tutorial for your first lesson. One of the different things is make sure you check out the pre-lesson checklist of having your students install the Chrome extension and make sure that they can install it. So check with your IT department. But we've also got things like this quick lesson ideas and templates, where it's got a lot of great ideas on how to use insert learning. And a lot of these have come from other teachers, like this really cool one of an FAQ by students. So at the end of the article, you then have a discussion, and that's your FAQ. So students now post a question that they have about the article. And now this is an amazing launch pad for an in-class discussion about the article that you guys just read. So there's a lot of amazing things that you can do to build upon what the students are doing when they're in the reading itself. Okay, so can students record their answers? So their text responses auto-save. Now, for an answer within the actual question itself, they can only respond with text at this time. They can't do a video or audio response. One solution to that is by giving them instructions of add a sticky note, and then they can record their own videos right here within the sticky note. In the future, we do have plans on kind of having different media options like video or audio recording as a response to the questions, but we don't have that right now. But so this is one workaround. Another is if you use Flipgrid, then you can put in then an actual like video discussion into the article itself, and now you can have this text-dependent discussion right there. All right. Well, so we are at the end of tonight's webinar. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to go back here. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Emails, if you have any questions, there's even a little chat icon on our dashboard as well as in the Help Center. So you can just send us a message. It's going to go to myself all the time. So let me know, because I'm Matt. So you'll get lots of emails from me and messages. And I'm excited to have you guys with us and send us lots of questions. I love seeing all the different lessons that people are publishing in the public library, because it gives a lot of really good ideas on how other people teach the same kinds of things in their classroom. And that's what makes it exciting. So thanks. Have a great evening.